Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mama Knows Best series. I'm your host, Dana of Lean In Mama, and I will be featuring mamas who know best that will uncover, illuminate, and share various ways to simplify and elevate the mom life. The motif or the thread that is laced through the various topics that range from productivity to creativity is identifying and honing in on the magic in the mess. We all know that the mom life is fucking messy. We also know that it is fucking magical. Not always in equal measure, but quality, not quantity, right? One way to augment the magic is to embrace the messy. Finding magic in the mess will ground you and transform you at once. It is both commonplace and transcendent. So, the mom life struggle is real. The nap time hustle is real. For real. When you're doing all the things, you need some clarity, some inspiration, some encouragement, and some fierce motherfucking support. This is to mother you. Let's dive in and get messy and find some magic. All right. So I am so excited about today's guest, Brianna.
Hello.
Hello. I am so happy to have you here. And you guys, I can't even tell you how excited I am, because this is the motherfucking queen of getting shit done. Like, I swear I am in awe of like all that she does. I mean, when I get her emails, and when you, I'll link her website so that you can check it out. And she has like a gazillion offerings of digital courses and programs and boot camps and just so much valuable content that she keeps putting out. It is awe-inspiring, and I'm actually taking one of her courses, one of her boot camps, and I am so embarrassed to say that I am so slow in getting this course done. But it's summertime and the living is messy. But I can tell you that just the first couple modules alone are so value-packed with amazing content. And that is why I'm extra excited about this, because we get a crash course right here, right now, on productivity mindset. And now I just realized that I may have not introduced what she does. Brianna is a productivity coach. She's also a professional organizer. And she will be talking to us about how to get mad shit done, basically. So I'm gonna pass it over to you, Brianna. My first question is I would love for you to share a little bit about what you do, and how it is that you came to doing what you do, because I think that's such a juicy question. That's always fascinating to me, is learning how other people come to figure out and land at, that juicy core of what their passion is and what their purpose is and what they are meant to be offering and serving the world with.
For sure. Yeah. So, I mean, where I am now definitely was not where I started out, and it's probably not going to be where I end up. I love just having a fluid business where, as I'm learning everything and learning more about myself, I constantly allow myself to pivot and just come more into my purpose, I guess. But so I initially had just started a blog about a year and a half ago, Spike Parent. And before I had my son, I was a book editor. And then once I had him, I didn't have the concentration to line edit anything. I mean, it just takes so much thought, and I wasn't sleeping for more than 2 hours a night for like 10 months. So I went and I got a real job. I hated it, and I was like, okay, so I'll try to get my foot in the door writing. So I started my blog just as like a writing portfolio to send people to. But then as I started blogging, I was working this crazy job. I had a crazy commute. I had to leave by like 7 a.m, and I wasn't getting home till like 6 p.m. I had a 1-year-old at the time. I was getting up at like 5 a.m. to, figure out my blog and figure out how to set it up as a business from the beginning. I've never taken a business class in my life. I'm an English major. I have my degree in English lit, you know? So the whole business side of it, it's just like, well, what the hell is this, you know? But I didn't want to do it wrong and then have to waste time going back and figuring it out. I knew I wanted out of this horrible, crazy job I hated. So I, you know, would get up so early and I would have an hour commute each way where I was cramming podcasts in. I would take my tablet with me on my break. And I had like a Bluetooth keyboard and I would sit there and I would write over my breaks and my lunch break. I wasn't that social, but I was getting mad shit done doing it that way. And I was able to quit just a couple months later. But because I was so good at just making these like tiny pockets of time work for me, that's where the direction my blog kind of went in that and the organization stuff. That's what people were writing about. So I just followed that and, you know, everything I was learning about how to be efficient with so little time and how to get stuff done just took off. And that's just kind of the direction I took it in. And I've grown into that. You know, I've added the life coaching and the mindset components because it's such an important part of productivity. And I'll kind of go into that a little bit in some, you know, once we're going through some productivity techniques. But basically my thought about it is that productivity or, you know, poor time management isn't necessarily a problem. It's a symptom of something else. And, you know, so to figure out why you aren't getting as much done as you want to be, you know, you have to figure out why that's happening. And once you do that, that's how you start getting more stuff done, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. One thing you said that I want to, you know, that I want to go back to and emphasize is doing how you were getting like mad shit done in like tiny little increments, right? Like little small increments of time. And I think that is that's so important to say because so many times we feel like, I mean, I know that I'm like, oh my God, I can't even get started on this thing because I don't have like huge chunks of time available.
Right.
And so we stop ourselves from like doing the thing or the things that we want to do because we feel like we don't have this wide open, you know, big chunk of
Absolutely.
time. And I think it's amazing to hear what you've managed to accomplish in just small pieces of time. And it's amazing that idea of just like baby steps and small chunks. And the other thing
for sure. It's so go on.
that I'm going to want you to, I know we're going to get into a lot of like, you know, once you start sharing techniques and productivity hacks, one thing I want to just put out there that I would love for you to comment on at some point is, so if we have those little chunks of time, it seems to me that the real important thing is how we plan and how we prioritize what to do with that time, right? And so
absolutely,
that's something
yes,
I would love you to touch on that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of what I teach and how I teach it because, if you know, you can't go into it saying, oh, I only have 15 minutes. You have to look at it like, all right, I got 15 minutes. What can I do in that 15 minutes? And, you know, taking a little time beforehand to keep yourself organized. So when you have just those tiny pockets of time, you can completely utilize them without wasting the 15 minutes trying to figure out what you're going to work on. And then before you know it, it's over, the kids are up and, you know, you're just back into the chaos. So.
Right. Totally. So I would love, if you will share with us a few sort of bite-sized actionable steps, things that we can do to achieve a get shit done mindset.
For sure. You know, so just going back to what I said initially about how time management isn't a problem, it's the symptom. So, you know, before you can figure out how to get more done, you know, you have to, you know, are you procrastinating doing stuff? Are you not using those 15 minutes because, you know, you're procrastinating, you don't actually want to do it? Are you not using that time because you're overwhelmed and you need a little structure? Are you not using that time because you're trying to do 20 different things in that 15 minutes? So, figuring out why you aren't using your time efficiently is the first step. So if you are procrastinating, okay, so why don't you want to do that? And this is where the mindset stuff comes in. If you're overwhelmed, which I think that's what most of the people I talk to are, and that's, I'll dive into that next, and also it ties into if you're trying to do 20 things during that 15 minutes. So to deal with that, so the first thing that I always suggest is you have to have, your to-do list shouldn't be a list of a million things you have to do, because that's going to overwhelm you. So, if you have 50 things written down that you want to get done today, there's no way in hell you're going to get 50 things done. My son's in daycare all day now. I work from 8 in the morning until 5 at night. I don't get 50 things done in a day, So, when it comes to writing your to-do list, you can have a master list where you have everything. One thing that I suggest that people do is to split your to-do list into different groups. So there's like the high intensity tasks, the things that you need to do that need your utmost attention, and that varies from person to person. For me, that's, when, I do my writing at night when I don't need a lot of brain power because it's just kind of free flowing. But when I'm editing it, I need to do that the next morning when I'm paying attention to it. Or if I'm doing anything technical, I obviously need to be able to pay attention to it because that's, something that I personally have to pay attention to, and then low intensity tasks or low thought tasks, like making my blog graphics, my writing, because I like writing when I'm more tired because I don't block myself up, but again, it varies person to person. So when you're looking at everything you have to do, kind of knowing, okay, this particular thing I really have to think about while I'm doing it. I need to make sure I'm working on this when I'm at my best, because if you're not, it's going to take you longer to get it done. You're probably going to make some mistakes, which just take more time to come back later and fix.
Yeah.
Or, and it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to use that time for something that I could do, in a little 15-minute pocket of time after dinner or something like that, And so just keeping your to-do list split between that. When I was a work-at-home mom, I had a third list of these are the things I can do while my son's around me, like social media, stuff like that, things I can do while I'm doing the laundry, multitasking is never really good because mistakes happen, but there are definitely things you can multitask and do because you can't really mess them up, So, or, when I was working at my 9 to 5, I had my list of things I could do on my breaks. And, so then you prioritize these lists, which is the next step I want to, go into. So I'm sure anybody who's ever read anything on productivity, prioritize, and it is, a gray area. Like, how do you know what's important, what isn't important for you to do? And I think, that comes back to finding out what, figuring out why you want to do everything. You can ask yourself, why is this on my to-do list? Why is it important that I need to get it done? If there's a time limit on it getting done, obviously it needs to be pushed up. I like to give myself time limits on it does have that urgency, so I know to roll it in. And then, all your little day-to-day things on to-do list, you want to have the most important stuff at the top. And then any different projects you're working on, I suggest only working on one big project at a time, because if you're working on 10 projects, you're going to try working on 10 things at once. You sit down, you work through one project at a time, you get it done in a week or two, that's out of the way. You see those results right away. That motivates you to keep going. And then I just completely lost my train of thought. Oh, and then sorry, what was that?
You can do anything, but you can't do everything all at once.
Yeah. yeah, you can't do everything all at once. And so then, once you have your to-do list, you have it split between I suggest everybody time blocks, even if it's a 15-minute time block. It may not happen at the same time every day. If you know that every single day this will be able to work, schedule in one to work on during that. Every time you sit down to work and you waste time figuring out what you're going to work on, then that's time that you're not going to have to work on it. And even if you don't have those set times to work on something, you can still do this by having those to-do lists organized. So, you do have 15 minutes. You just grab the top thing from that list and knock it out. Even if you can only work on that one task that you don't have to work on later. So
use that time to figure out. I mean, you can also you need to, at some point you need to create that list, right? So even using that time to create, to prioritize that list is super, super valuable, right? Because then that will serve you in the next increment of time that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you don't want to, every time you sit down to work, you don't want to be spending that time organizing your to-do list. I mean, I think that depends on, I work a lot with like the Myers-Briggs types, and there are some people who are over planners and some who aren't. So if you are an over planner, you do have to not, I am an over planner. I only allow, on Sunday nights, I sit down and I organize my to-do list. I touch base with it like daily, every night. I'll look at it, see if I need to switch anything, but I can't let myself like over organize it because I know that I have a tendency to do that. So you have to, getting to know yourself and keeping yourself in check.
Right. Yeah. No, thank you. That's super valuable. And I think, so it sounds like you've created like habits and routines, right? So you said you check in at nightly, right? And it doesn't have to take a lot of time just to check in with the list and be like, okay, this is where I'm at and this is where I need to be. Right. But
for sure, I look at, okay, so I planned out my week and this is what I was going to do every day. Have I gotten everything done? Did something come up during the week that I need to schedule in this week and bump something else back to next week? I don't like to let those little fires that pop up during the week push other things back, but sometimes they have to. You can't just say, I'm never going to let stuff like that happen because life happens. Life's messy, So you have to give yourself that flexibility to live, and we're not robots. I don't like gross time, like structure, because it's just unrealistic. So I think that the methods that I explain allow for that flexibility in that breathing room with and getting rid of that overwhelm, because when you sit there and plan out every second of your day, that's even more overwhelming. Yes. I know I would hate that myself. So yeah,
and I think that's one thing that I love about you, and that really resonates with me, is that you are flexible and adaptable while being super, super disciplined in getting your stuff done. And and you,
and I mean that's important. Sorry, did we cut out?
I know the connection is a little unstable, but and you're also and you're doing all that stuff, and you're not giving up your time, quality time with your child, and, family time. I mean, you're doing it in a way that is in flow and at ease, and that kind of integrates the work.
Absolutely. And I think just allowing it to flow into your life, it just takes away the edge of you know, all that stress, and like I don't sit there and freak out about everything I have to do, because if something doesn't get done, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
You know, it is what it is. And
Yeah, it's
yeah, you just have to,
always tomorrow.
yeah, exactly. You know, and if like last week my son got sick, picked up a bug from daycare, you know, we just shut everything off for a couple days. And, you know, of course I got it from him, and, you know, we just had some sick days. And yeah, the things that I had planned didn't get done, but it's just not the end of the world. And I used to let those things like really eat at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so miserable, and just, that's not a way to live. You know, it's totally possible to still be productive and get everything done that you want to get done. You may not get it done when you want to get it done, but, you know, just seeing how it goes, and, you know, being able to make adjustments as you go, you know, that's something that you learn as you do it, you know. But I mean, I haven't always been completely put together. I spent my 20s as a total hot mess, you know. It's not like I'm just this highly efficient person, you know. I've just figured out a way to build it into my everyday life in a way that feels authentic, and that I'm living my life in the best way.
Right, right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. A couple things that you said that really resonated. One is like that, like stuff that you can get done while your kids are around, right? Like if it's like laundry and dishes and all that stuff, like I will not do that shit when I have a pocket of time that, you know, to myself, or like when my kid is napping. Like
Right.
that's like either rest time, which is super valuable.
Yeah.
Let yourself rest, or
For sure.
get mad shit done time, but like your mad shit, the stuff that's important to you. All
right.
stuff, like that is stuff that you can include your kids in, and that you can do together while they're playing. And so yeah, that's a really great point, is to like the stuff that you can do while your kids are hanging out.
Or, you know, and if I'm working on, you know, give myself a really tight deadline, you know, I will sit in the playroom and write while he plays. You know, when I was working at home, one of the things I would do in the mornings is I would, like, my son's obsessed with Thomas the Train. And so we would go to the local Barnes and Noble, and he would sit there and play with Thomas the Train with the other kids there for like 2 hours. They have Wi-Fi there. They have coffee there. I mean, I looked a little antisocial to the other moms there, but, you know, I was able to work during that time. My kid was, you know, I couldn't do anything too like intensive, because I knew I was going to constantly be pulled away, but I could knock out a rough draft of something, you know, in that time, or, you know, draft up some emails, whatever it is. I could still get quite a lot done, even with him, you know, showing me every train every 30 seconds. But, you know,
right.
It's, yeah.
That's why I think it's so important to know, like you said, to prioritize and to know what it is that you want to work on, and be specific about that. Because if you have those pockets of time, then you know how to use them, right? And it's amazing the stuff that you can get done, even, you know,
right,
with no childcare. Like when you're, if they're little, obviously when they're napping, or, you know, or while they're playing, just like you said, you know, when you're at Barnes and Nobles and they're playing with other kids and other things.
Right.
And yeah, and it's not easy, because your focus is inevitably divided, right? You are not completely in your thing when you need to be attentive to. But like you said, you can get rough drafts done, rough vision done. You can move closer to what it is that you want to do, when you're very clear on what it is that you want to do. And that's why I think that
like I know, like last September, I was putting together my first online courses. And it was like 16 different time management courses, one for each of the personality types. And I knew that recording it, I had to do during nap time. So I couldn't do anything else because background while I was recording the videos for it. So, but like making the slide decks, writing, the script and all of that, and copying and pasting workbooks, like those months were insane because we did spend a lot of time playing with trains at the store, or, playing with Play-Doh at the table. But I got 16 courses done in less than 2 months with a kid home with me full time. He wasn't in daycare then. So it's just, I just knew what I had to do every second of the day. When I was drinking my coffee in the morning, be like, okay, so what's the plan for today? And how do I need to get everything done so I stay on schedule? And it was a little stressful, but once I saw how I was able to get it done though, it just, motivated me to push even harder. And I think that's when I really transitioned into wanting to help other mompreneurs specifically because, because I would just always hear, well, I only have this much time. I just can't do all of this. And it's like, bullshit. I just did it, So you can, you just, need the guidance and the structure and, it's totally possible though.
Right. I think we also have to shift our perspective on time.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see it as something that is more, more fluid and more flow, and not something that is so linear.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
I was going to ask you. Because this is something that comes up for me sometimes when in terms of like prioritizing. There's always like the little, the things that you think that don't take up so much time, but at the same time are not as important.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take on that? Like, would you want to just cross those off the list if they don't take up that much time? Or
so what I usually do for little things like that is like during my day, I leave chunks of time between my time blocks. White space is breathing space. That way, if I'm working on something, it does take longer than I planned. I'm not stressed out that I went over my, rough time that I had put down. But also, it gives me that time to, respond to those emails or, my social media in between. A ton. I can't even think of all the just little things that, I have to do throughout the day. I'm trying to come up with a good example, but I can't. But yeah, there's a ton. Some days I'll even take like Friday afternoons and just kind of schedule those, Friday afternoon from 2 p.m. on, I'm just gonna tie loose ends for the week. Unless, it varies week to week depending on what I have going on, but a lot of those things, I'll schedule my first time block until about 10 in the morning some weeks or some days. So, I can sit down and I can get that busy work out of the way before I sit down and like commit an hour and a half to, one long task. So it's not hanging in the back of my mind like, God, I got to get that done and that and that and that. And while I'm working in my time blocks, I don't, I turn off my notifications. I don't let any distractions. I keep on me all the time. Or like all these little thoughts that are constantly popping into my head, I just jot them down. So that way I know that it's there. I'm not going to forget about it, but I don't have to like pull myself out of the zone to, like, oh, really look that up or, maybe do some quick research on it or something like, because we're ideas people and ideas come and you're like, I want to chase that, but that kills productivity. You can't allow that to happen. So
that is so valuable. So much good stuff there. So I'm just going to recap like some of it. So one is, like sometimes get the little stuff out of the way, first.
Mm-hmm.
Block out. I think that is so important and so valuable, is to block out some white space, where
Mm-hmm.
use that to just kind of tie up the loose ends, like you said. Turn off notifications. Oh my gosh, that is, yes, that is so important. So you don't even realize how much time we kill by just like going, oh, I got like a comment here and a like here and a blah, 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 and like, it's like you're just sucked into this sinkhole of social media. I mean, it happens to me all the fucking time.
For sure.
And it's like,
For sure.
so yeah, I mean, that is like, yeah, there's a time for that. So like use the white space or whatever. For that, but don't, when you're in your zone of genius, of creation, of like content creation mode, turn off notifications. And and there was something else you said that I wanted to come back to. What was it?
I think that was ended on. Yeah, just the notebook.
The note, yes, the idea
notebook. Exactly.
I have like, I don't know, I have like a gazillion journals and they're all like all over the place. But yes, to have like a little something, like it can be whatever, a journal, just like a stack of paper, just jot things down, because just like, or a folder on your computer or whatever, but just like putting it out there so that it doesn't have to stay here and clutter the inside will let you be able to. Yeah, because
all those little things, they slow you down, they distract you. Just getting them out. Again, it depends person to person. I know me that I will, if I don't have something, out of sight, out of mind, that's how I am. I'm very forgetful. So I just know that writing it down, and then I do schedule in time to go back and look through my idea notes. I try to put them all in like a Google Doc, maybe color code with some highlights. That's something I'll do at like 10 o'clock at night while I'm drinking a cup of tea or something, just to kind of keep it all organized and be like, oh shit, I completely forgot about that idea. That's brilliant. I need to figure out, start hashing that out and see if it's something I can put into place, So I do make sure that I come back to all of those ideas. I think that's why I can trust myself to write it down and let it go, because I know that I'm going to prioritize some time to come back to them and give all those little ideas their time in the sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to share something that I do that ties into the idea of white space and getting shit done. I usually the only time that I have to work on my stuff is during nap time. It's the nap time hustle. So and one of the things that I've found that I need, and that facilitates the transition from the nap to the hustle, is carving out that little bit of white space just at the top of the nap, where I myself can just like meditate or breathe or close my eyes for a few minutes, like even if it's just like for 10 minutes. If I have 50 minutes of productive time as opposed to 60, it's I'm so much more grounded and focused and productive if I allow myself that little bit of like breather.
Absolutely.
She usually falls asleep on me because I'm still nursing this toddler, and but it really, like the other day, and I used to feel guilty if I'm for closing my eyes, and now I'm realizing more and more that allowing myself, gifting myself and being gentle with myself and allowing myself to have those few minutes of just like, ooh, okay, let's just ease into this.
Absolutely.
And then become refreshed and dive in.
Yeah. I mean, I have to give myself, I try to get up before my son. He will co-sleep with him. I can't kick that habit. But so I get up at 6 in the morning. He gets up at 6:15 in the morning because he knows that I'm not there next to him. So I don't always get that time in the morning. I have to have some meditation time or me time, journaling time, whatever it is, just to start my day right. And I usually don't get that in the morning. So after I take him to daycare, I have to take that time out of my work day. And, you know, I used to stress out about that, but when I don't give myself that time, I don't get nearly as much done. It's crazy, you know, and so I started running. I've never been a runner. I've been doing it for 4 months and I fucking hate it. But I still go 3 times a week because I listen to a podcast while I'm running, and the running with that like stimulates my creativity, and the shit I have come up with during that time is just unbelievable. So I make myself go up there 3 days a week, even though I hate it, because and I get all of these ideas out first thing in the morning, and then I come home and I work, and it's like I'm a clear channel and I can just sit down and get it done, you know. And the days that if I am really busy, or, if I have, I'm also a professional organizer. If I'm going out to jobs and stuff, I may not get that time in the morning. Right. And I'm not as articulate. I'm not, I can, and maybe it's in my, it could be, but I honestly, in that time for myself, just to get the gears turning the right way is just so essential to getting shit done.
That's amazing. And that may very well be the answer to my next question. We all know that the juggle of life and work and kids is real. And I was going to ask, what is something that eases or facilitates your juggle and gives you a little more equilibrium? And that may have been the answer.
Yeah, that's, but I also just, going easy on yourself and not beating yourself up over every little thing, and just taking what you can do. It's good to push yourself, to step outside of your comfort zone and grow. But there's a line between that and pushing yourself too hard and having unrealistic expectations of yourself. I know for a long time I had unrealistic expectations of myself, and I, was trying to do everything and I wasn't doing anything. Once I sat down and I just got a little of myself, like my business just transitioned overnight. It was crazy, allowing myself to be authentic, not trying to be who I thought I needed to be, but being just who I am, and, sharing my story and my struggles, and just stepping into that and allowing myself to step into that, because before there was no way I would have let myself just be real and honest. And, and it does come back to giving myself that time in the morning to get in tune with who I am, because we're always growing and we're always changing. And, to be real with yourself, you have to know who you are in the moment. So, it all just flows together and builds off of each other. And I think it's for every single person, it's going to flow and build in different ways. And the only way you're going to find that like sweet spot for yourself is just to release, stop trying to control everything and just live it and experience it and try things. I try to rearrange my day, try to rearrange how I get stuff done from time to time, and it doesn't always work, rather than being like, oh, I just wasted that entire day. No, I learned that isn't going to work for me, and yeah, just embracing it. It's a crazy journey.
That is beautiful. I love what you say about being gentle with yourself. I love what you say about allowing yourself to be authentic and honest and trusting that will shine through and that will serve you, and that is what makes you unique. And it's those gifts that people want to that are gonna resonate with people. And so
for sure,
I love that. And also giving yourself, like you said, giving yourself the time to sort of touch base with yourself and connect with
Mhm.
yourself. And you do that through running and podcasting or whatever, whether it's through journaling or whether it's just
Mhm.
moments in the shower, right? If you don't have time.
Right.
I mean, I don't do a morning routine either because I also have the co-sleeping situation going on with two littles. And
Yep.
my morning routine was jumping on my head and kissing me. And I
Mhm.
embrace it. But
Yep.
yeah, sometimes it's just a few moments in the shower where you can
Uh-huh.
connect with yourself and, and just ask yourself what it is that what are my intentions? What are my desires?
Right. Yeah, if you don't allow yourself to be quiet and open to that stuff, you're never going to hear it. And, you just keep working harder and pushing harder. You don't know if how you're pushing in the right direction, if you're staying authentic to where you want to be, who you want to be, if you aren't just allowing that quiet to recognize all of that, because it's constantly changing, and it should be constantly changing. I'm not the same person I was yesterday, and I won't be the same person I am tomorrow. And that's the beauty of it, so
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. We're going to start wrapping up.
For
My last question is, what is one of the most impacting lessons
Okay.
learned along your mompreneurial journey?
Just to allow the pivots, allow things to grow with you. I meet with, like locally, I meet up with a lot of other entrepreneurs, and some who have been at it a lot longer. I look at them like, God, look at everything you've gotten done. It didn't happen over who are, haven't been at it as long as I have, and basically tell them the same thing. It's like you can't compare where you are to where anybody else is, and you have to enjoy the journey. If you sit there and you focus on, this is the big goal, this is where I want to go, and you're never going to be happy until you get there, you're never going to be happy because you're probably never going to get there, or at least where you're never going to get there in the sense that you want to, like it's the journey is just so important and so beautiful, and it's going to change, like my end goal is never the same. I don't even know if I have a set in stone clear end goal. It's more just like what feels good right now, what feels authentic right now, talking to people in my community and seeing what they like, what they don't like, and what I enjoy doing, what I don't enjoy doing, and just living in the moment and embracing it. And it's a crazy ride. I know I've said that, but I think as entrepreneurs, we're all a little nuts to begin with, in a good way, but we like that thrill, and so you have to embrace that side of it, and not get lost in the picture that you
Mm-hmm.
had of what you should be working towards, but just work towards, what feels right and what feels real.
Right. I love that. I love that so much. First of all, the whole like comparisonitis thing. Oh my God, stop doing that.
Yeah,
It'll keep
it
you
kills.
small. Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, the goal is to like be happy and enjoy what you're doing, right? I mean, that's whatever your end goal is,
Right.
you feel like that will make you happy, right? So why not be happy as you're working towards it? Like
yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to like struggle towards something that that conceivably will make you happy when if you're not
right. Yeah, that doesn't exist. It's never, the only thing that exists is this moment. The future is just you're projecting your now onto that, and it's not real, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
And I mean, I myself am noticing how much more at ease and joyful I am in the day to day when when I allow myself to really be in those moments and to be grateful for the things that are in those moments, right? And of course you have those like those lofty dreams and those ambitious goals, and like, yes, those are amazing, and don't let go of them, you know, keep
Yeah.
them, but
Sure.
you're going to get there. The more you enjoy, I think the more you enjoy the journey, and the more you enjoy the process, and the more you are seated in gratitude within that journey, the more flow and the more ease you will have in getting there.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure.
One thing that I said the other day, I started the day by saying like, oh, this is going to be, just thinking to myself the words like, this is going to be an amazing day, or something like, this is such a great day. And then I went and tried to look for evidence that that day was indeed or will indeed be great. And it's amazing when you
Absolutely.
with that intention. It's amazing the things that you will appreciate. The things that will manifest.
Yeah.
I think things are manifesting all the time, but if we we don't know that they're happening. Our connection is unstable. Oh,
right. And did I cut out again? With having young kids, it's so like my 3-year-old in this temper tantrum phase. So half the time our mornings start out first thing with him freaking out, So if I let that set the tone for my day, and I'm like, well, I'm going to have a shit day now because I just got screamed at for 20 minutes and had a shoe thrown at my head, of course I'm going to have a shit day then. I told myself that I'm going to have a shitty day. That's all that I'm going to see, So just taking, that time to flip it around and just be like, no, I'm going to have a fantastic day. And, not letting the hiccups just bring you down and throw you off, because they can. And I know so many people like live in that space and are miserable in that space and will never come out of that space. But the only way they will is if they make a decision to look at, you create your own reality. And if you don't,
absolutely.
Yeah. So wake up every day and say, I'm going to knock the shit out of today, and it's going to happen,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And leaning into those hiccups, because they will happen, but then moving through them, right? And I feel like the only way you can move through them is if you lean in. You can't go under, you can't go over, you can only go through.
Right.
Like the bear.
You can try.
Bear hunt. I'm going to leave you like with one sweet little thing that my 4-year-old said the other day, speaking of like, living in the moment and appreciating the now. He said, I feel like there's never tomorrow. Like, and I feel like there's never, because tomorrow takes so long to come. He says, I feel like there's never tomorrow. And I thought that was so beautiful and deep, Yeah. Like there's only now, there's only this. No day but today. So
absolutely right. Yeah, I love that. Such a smart.
The things we glean from our children.
Right.
Brianna, thank you so much. This was so awesome. I love chatting with you. So many pieces of of actionable things that we can take to start making our lives more productive and more at flow and more at ease, and get mad shit done in the process. So just leave. I'll link your site and everything, but is there anywhere else that you want that we can find you at? What are
I would just say
places to find you?
Well, I'm at spikeparenting.com is my blog. I'm all over social media at Spike Parenting. I know that everything I say is that it's individual and it varies person to person. So to help people figure out where they should start on their time management journey, I've put together a free quiz that laser points you in the right direction. You can find that at spikeparenting.com/quiz. And that will help you figure out where to start, where your biggest problem is, and how to adjust that to start getting more done every day.
Right. That is so awesome. And I love that it's personalized because everyone's different. And I love that you.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's different. Yeah.
Really
So
like personalizing all the systems that you.
Yeah. It's a must have, because what works for you probably won't work for me and vice versa. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to end by like standing up a little so everyone can see my shirt. You see it? The future is female. Woohoo! True, but like we need like to like print it on a shirt, right?
Right.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I loved chatting. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Have an awesome kick-ass day.
You too.